And welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me, as always, on these Monday night Zooms is my friend, the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. How are you,
What's up,
Ross?
Stan? Doing great, buddy. Doing great.
Hey, I think you'd agree with me that one of our favorite guests on these shows is former Orioles skipper Dave Trembley. Would I be correct in saying that,
You're
Ross?
absolutely right. I'll always look forward to talking to him and getting obviously his input and just some of the things that he's involved in now. It was very interesting when we talked earlier about him being a part of the new Appalachian League, right. I believe. So that'll be fun to talk to him about that.
That's where we left off in June, but as luck would have it, we've got a guy that is there's nobody we could pick that is more well-versed in the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves. He worked for both ball clubs. Would I be right in saying, Skipper, that you're a close personal friend of Brian Snitker's and Dusty Baker?
I know both of them very well. Both tremendous people, outstanding baseball men, and old school player development guys.
There you go.
So give it to us straight. Who are you rooting for? I'm just kidding. You can't really lose.
Guys on both teams. I just hope it goes seven games. I was glad Houston won last night, so it kicks back to Houston, and let's play some more baseball and let's see what's going on.
That's what I like to hear. Hey, I do want to catch up on you on some minor league issues, but let's start with the World Series. We're through Game 5. You worked. You probably your time with the Astros, which was I think 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. You probably don't have that many connections still with the players, but I know you know Altuve and Correa and all that. But this Braves team, you were director of player development from 15, 16, 17, 18. All these guys that have come through there now, you must know pretty well.
Yeah, we know all of them. We sat in on the draft meetings with Brian Bridges, in June. We had all those players when they would come to our mini camp down in Disney. And then we dispersed them to either Danville in the rookie league or they stayed in the Gulf Coast League. I mean, Ozzie Albies was 17 years old and, we sent him to Danville. We got Riley, Anderson, Contreras behind the plate, Pache, Tucker Davidson, who pitched the other night. I mean, I think 90% of the guys that are with that team came through the Braves system. And the other we got in trades. Fried, we got in a trade from San Diego.
And Dansby Swanson, you got in a trade.
Swanson was 1-1 by Arizona, went in the Shelby Miller trade and came the next year. And he played in Zebulon. Then the next year he went to Jacksonville. In fact, I went into Jacksonville to watch him per the orders of John Hart, and he played a really good series. And I followed him to Atlanta, and we brought him to the big leagues.
Hey, just a quick question before we circle back. I'll let Ross ask the next couple. But the Dansby Swanson trade, you're well versed in Shelby Miller, and you've watched his career both rise and fall. Can you pinpoint what happened to him?
I think he got hurt. I think he hurt his arm.
I think he had Tommy John surgery
and never came back. And it's unfortunate. Ross could probably relate to this a lot better than all of us. There's so many pitchers that have such great promise. I mean, we saw that in Baltimore when I was there. I mean, Adam Lowen, I thought Adam Lowen was going to be a tremendous pitcher, left-handed. Had him in AAA, got to the big league, started off really well, then hurt his arm. A lot of guys, the injury bug gets to them, and it's just unfortunate. And that's why McPhail used to always say, we'll grow the arms and buy the bats. And I think, the Braves are a really good example of that. They have a staple of pitchers, and you've seen they brought him up. Kyle Wright was our number one pick out of Vanderbilt. He was kind of like on the taxi squad. He was pitching in instructional league, and Morton gets hurt and he's ready to go and gives him 5 1/3 the other night. So it's unfortunate when you lose such great potential guys in pitching because it's hard to get and it's hard to develop those guys. But there's always somebody that steps up and takes their place. The Swanson story is a great story.
Yep.
because, in his first at bat, he got hit in the face. That's why he wears that guard when he bats, and he missed the rest of the whole season when he came out of Vanderbilt. We got him in a trade, and he basically, his first spring training was with the Braves.
Ross, go ahead. I know you got a couple of that.
I know you. We opened the door with the injury bug, and I wanted to, I wanted to ask you some other questions. I'll get to them in a minute. But with the pitchers now, I know we had Dan Duquette on a few weeks ago, and we were talking about. It seems like the pitchers go down almost daily, if not every other day, and it's just amazing. And like you said, I know when I was with the Giants, we drafted pitchers, used them to get bats, and that's probably the smartest thing I think that an organization could do. But just you watching what's going on with the pitching and the injuries, what do you see the big problem is in this day and age?
I think it's the way they warm up, and I think it's velocity. I think I'm just amazed, Russ. You see the young players now, they warm up with weighted balls. They come out, and you see guys in the bullpen, they curl hop in the bullpen and try to get ready as soon as they possibly can, and are throwing as hard as they can from the get-go. I believe velocity. I think Smoltz was on a little while ago on the MLB Network, and he was talking about Wainwright and how Wainwright has been so successful, but he knows how to pitch, and he might be around 91 all the time.
Yeah.
And isn't that a refreshing thing to say? I think the injuries are directly related to the kids getting indoctrinated when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, that it's velocity.
Yeah.
If I can light up the gun, somebody's going to take me and they're going to sign me and I'm going to get a chance. But what you look at the Rays this year, great team, great pitching. How many of those pitchers were on the DL during the year? How many guys would just be ping pong balled up and down from Durham to Tampa? They pitch 2 innings, 3 innings, send a guy down, give me somebody else. I think they led baseball in pitchers that were on the DL for the year. And to me, it comes down to the pitchers got it in their head, and they've been told, hey, you show velocity, you strike people out, you're going to get a chance to pitch in the big leagues. And I think it goes hand in hand with, it's almost a selfish approach, that's now being promoted by the people that are running the game.
Unfortunately, I see that. Throw as hard as you can, snap the breaking, throw the greatest breaking ball every pitch that you're going to throw it, and you just see it. And no one talks. I mean, that you have the rule now that you can't touch the guy at second, the infielder. You can't touch the guy at home. They're trying to make the biggest bases bigger in different leagues. So, like, it's an epidemic of guys getting, hurt at all these. But no one says anything about the pitching problem. You don't hear it anywhere, and that's one of the biggest. They're spending millions of dollars on guys that aren't playing, that are injured, and and I kind of knew. I knew what you were going to say because I see it, I know it. But the thing is, how do you change that? What can be done?
Can I piggyback on your question, Ross, and ask you? I know what Ross is saying is true, and how do you get through it and get back to some semblance of normalcy with pitching? But the pandemic has played, and how baseball had to react to the pandemic. I think these pitchers right now have been, since like mid-July this year, have been running on fumes pretty much since then.
Well, I would agree, because last year was such a shortened season, and then you don't have a normal off season to get ready your throwing program. And now this year has kind of been 2 seasons in one compared to what they were last year. And there's only so many, I've told kids, there's only so many bullets you got in that arm, you better take care of it. And guys are being forced to, go to the hill a lot more frequently with a lot more torque and velocity, and they didn't have time to recover. You look at the World Series now, you look in the paper in this date in baseball, and I look at it every day, and October 10th of 1956 was the day that Larson pitched the game, or
Yep.
October, whatever it was. The World Series was over.
Right.
You know, the second week. These guys are going to be playing into November. The adrenaline is going. And then they're going to turn it around in January to start their throwing program. And Leo Mazzilli would always have Camp Leo in Atlanta.
Right.
Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, all those pitchers and the minor league guys would come to Atlanta the second week of January to get ready for spring training, so that by the time they got to spring training in Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach, you know, wherever the Braves were, and I had Leo in Fort Lauderdale my first year with Baltimore, those guys are ready to throw. They're throwing live BP the first day. So you look at the guys now that are pitching in the World Series, they're not going to have a whole lot of time to shut down and to recover and rest and recover. They're going to have to start throwing again in December to get ready for January. The season's going to start earlier this again.
Right.
And I think we're playing with fire. We're playing with fire.
You're right. Dave, tell us a little bit. I know you was in the Appalachian League when we talked to you earlier, and I want to get your input on that, how it went, what it was like, what you thought about it, the players. And I think it was freshmen and sophomore college kids got to play in a wood bat league. That's tell us a little bit about that, what you thought about it, and
I'll tell you, Ross and Stan, I was thrilled to do it. I was
but
absolutely.
Just also tell us the premise of the league. I think a lot of viewers don't even understand what the premise of this league was and why you bought into it.
Well, Major League Baseball and USA Baseball took over the old Appalachian League because it was retracted. It was, it was one of the leagues that lost affiliation with all major league clubs. It's been in existence for over 100 years. The Braves were in Danville for 17 years, and I would go there 3 or 4 times every summer and spend a week. And every great player that's playing in the World Series now, those kids started in Danville Braves. But I was in Bristol. The premise of the league was to develop college freshmen and sophomores as kind of a stepping stone for them to get into professional baseball and mirror the league as if it were a rookie league. They played 6 days a week. They played 54 games in 9 weeks. And it was based on teaching baseball fundamentals.
Imagine that. Yeah.
And there were old time baseball lifers that were managing and coaching. I brought Larry McCall, who'd been with the Orioles for a long time. I brought Barbaro Garbe as my hitting coach. And we gave guys preparation for what it'd be like if they were their first experience in professional baseball. We took batting practice every day. We did a different fundamental every day. We took infield. We did PFP. And I was so impressed at the amount of attention, the nuances that the players wanted to learn because it had never been explained to them before. They didn't have any wristbands on. There was no cue cards in their hat or back pocket. We didn't call pitches. We tried to let them play and teach baseball instincts. And I had guys from UCLA and University of Tennessee, big schools, small schools, NAI schools. And what I found was a lot of them have never been taught the team aspect of the game because they've all come through showcase or travel ball, where it's just go up there and swing as hard as you can with, let me see what my exit velocity is and let me see what my spin rate and my velocity is on the mound. Guys didn't know how to hold run. I'll give you one, Russ. We had a suggestion to all our pitchers, and I'd say, when you get a guy on first base, okay, before 3 outs, I want you to throw over to first base. Throw over to first base. Hold the runner. Guys had never done that on their own. They'd always been told when to throw over, when to step off. Had guys looking at me the first few days in the batter's box with 2 strikes, looking at me for a sign, or looking all the time they get on base. It was so refreshing to see the reception from the players. And as the season went on, guys started to feel more comfortable to make decisions on their own. And I thought it was a great, great thing that Major League Baseball and USA Baseball did. And I think next year will even be better. And I think Major League Baseball has another league that's called the Major League Baseball Draft League.
Right.
That's kind of taken over where the New York Penn League used to be. Right. And it's for kids that are going to be drafted in June or on lists to be drafted in June, and they get to play 40 games before the draft. And, I think it's just a great thing because unfortunately, amateur baseball right now does not prepare the player for what professional baseball is all about and what baseball fundamentals are all about. It's just not prominent anymore.
And that's very interesting because this year the draft was held around the All-Star game. So that time between the end of the college season and the draft would fit in nicely for 40-game league. I wonder, does the league, does MLB and USA Baseball, do they have any way to study the improvement of players from their, say, freshman or sophomore year that played in your league, how they do this coming year?
Oh, I'm sure they've got all kinds of, tracking
devices.
They probably shot them. They probably shot them on their neck.
Players are all in tune with all that. But our goal for the players was we wanted them to go back to their colleges in the fall and have a better understanding of how to play the game, and also to have a better understanding of the importance of doing things in a repetition way. I use Jeter as an example to them, or all great players. So these guys had a routine.
Right.
Ross, you were a pitcher in the big, you had a routine of when you threw, your conditioning, your PFP, getting with the catcher before the games and coming up with your own game plan instead of, the catcher's head on a swivel looking over the dugout to see which pitch you're going to call. We had guys that throwing fastballs and the right-handed hitters are following them over the first base dugout. The next pitch is a breaking ball, and you just go, wait a minute. Wow.
Did they understand? Did they understand the premise behind, and I'm sure Larry and you explained that to them. You see it so much. And one of the questions do you think this is going to go into other leagues and people are going to, try to keep doing what you're doing, explaining this, and then they'll take it back to their colleges? Will the colleges be receptive to this?
Well, the colleges and the players would tell me the college coach, baseball is a big sport now. It's not as big as football or basketball, but the college baseball coaches are held accountable to win.
Right.
And they recruit players to win, and that's the way it is. And players don't really get the leeway, to make mistakes or a growing process, because if you don't perform, somebody else comes in and takes your place. Right. But Major League Baseball had this vision, and rightfully so, and I think this is what Theo Epstein is doing, trying to do some things to make the game more attractive to younger people. Let's get more younger people, especially in this country, involved in playing the game, because the fact is we're losing them. They're going to other sports, or they're not playing. And I think that's why you see, with all due respect, you see our rosters in the big leagues, there's a lot of Latin players. They're very good players. Yep. It's hard to find in this country guys that are willing to put in the time. Yeah. You sign out of high school, you're going to spend 4 or 5 years in the minor leagues to develop, usually, until you get to the big leagues. If you're a top pick out of college in the June draft, you're at least going to spend 2 years in the minor leagues before you get to the big leagues. So I think we got to teach them and prepare them for what it's going to be like before you get there. And I thought the premise of the league was right on the money.
It's great. Yeah. Well, what does Major League Baseball have to say? What's their thoughts about how things went?
Oh, I think Major League Baseball is very happy about it. I think they want to tweak it and make it a little bit better. We had the 10th inning rule there, kind of like international baseball, that if it was tied in the 10th, you started the inning with runners at first and second, and you could use to bunt, because we bunted every day before games. And I would tell guys, hey, if it's the bottom of the 10th and we're the home team and we get in that, we're going to bunt. Yeah. And I remember early in the year, we had that situation. I asked the guy to bunt, he got it down. The next guy got up and got a hit, and everybody went, oh, that's how you play, huh? We never done that before.
Yeah, wow.
Thought it was just such a kick that to see it. But I think Major League Baseball is really on board. They've asked me for a lot of feedback. All the managers and coaches they asked, because I think the youth of this country is very important for the direction of where the game's going to go.
That were the kids, and I want the flip side of how great the kids were to work with. Did you ever get any of them that kind of big timed you or acted like, hey, I know that already? They were really receptive.
My wife warned me before I went. She said, "I don't think you're going to go there and change everybody. You're an old guy now, and these are young kids." And I'm so glad I did it, because it reassured me that there are so many good young people that have a work ethic, have a sense of commitment, understand about responsibility, are eager to learn. Now, they're not as reluctant as we were when we were their age to question and to ask, but they're really intrigued by the nuances of the game and are very receptive to be tweaked and for knowledge, because they're all so very sharp, so very perceptive. And I'll be honest with you, I did not have one player that thought he was bigger or better. And like I said, I had guys from NAI schools, small schools, big schools. And I had 3 catches. We played 6 days a week. And I told them, I said, hey, every one of you are going to catch 2 games. You'll catch 2, 2, and 2. We're going to be fair. The pitchers, you're going to all get to pitch. We put a cap on the pitchers. We had 6 starters. The first time out was 2 innings. The second time was 3. Your last start, if you got to 5, was a maximum of 5 innings. And so they knew before, and I think you prepare them. Kids are great. I think they want direction, and they want to be mentored. They want to know you care and you help them.
Right.
I know a topic that Ross and I both are interested in. You managed in the minor leagues for a couple decades, probably 15, 17 years.
A lot of bus rides.
This housing thing that has come to the forefront over the last 6 months or so, and now MLB is saying that organizations are going to have to figure a way to house these people in more, user-friendly household situations. Your thoughts on that, Dave?
I think it's long overdue. I think we've talked before. I managed at Bowie for 2 years, and it's a real exclusive area for housing. I mean, it's an expensive situation. And I remember, I think the Orioles still to this day, mostly all the players were housed with host families.
Yeah.
Because the rents were so high. The players were making $900 a month back then, maybe playing in AA, and they couldn't afford housing. So Bowie had a tremendous booster club that would, house the players. The families would really buy into it, and then they would follow those players, their career, as they went on.
Meant a lot. It meant a lot to those kids.
Great thing for the host families. And then, on a Sunday, every Sunday at home, they would have a barbecue or cookout at the ballpark after. I think Major League Baseball has been, they've gotten a little bit of, to be honest with you, they've gotten a little bit of a black eye, because a lot of the minor league players have stepped up, and there's been some press and some things in the media has been brought to the attention of the public of just really how inhumane in some instances.
Right. Well, it was a cost that nobody wanted to pick up. The minor league owners didn't really want to pick it up, and the MLB teams didn't want to pick it up. So the players were left in the lurch,
And players are, sleeping in cars and sleeping in mobile homes, or I got throw down mattresses, 6 of them in an apartment.
Oh yeah.
And
you're getting $15 a day. It's probably 20 or 25 now a day to eat. And you have to pick and choose. What are you going to do? You're going to skip breakfast and, have something, do the on your way to the ballpark. And then what are you going to do after? But most of the teams now, because I know when we were in Atlanta, nutrition is a real big part. Yeah. Most of the teams now, they feed the players post game, and they feed the players pre-game. I know in the league we were in this year, Major League Baseball fed the players the entire year. They gave them money for breakfast, but they got a pregame meal and they got a
Right.
postgame meal, and it was catered in, and it wasn't
Yeah.
fast food.
Right.
They took the bill. The housing that they did, they housed all the players in a hotel for the entire season. You had one roommate, and you didn't have to check in or check out. You kept the same room for the entire season.
Yeah.
You see what I read where Toronto is going to build their own hotel in Dunedin across from their minor league complex. And eventually that hotel is going to be just for their players in spring training. I think what Major League Baseball needs to do is take care of these guys, because the quality of their life will definitely reflect their performance on the field. And I think the other thing that's really important now is the mental health of the players, the stress of the game, of these guys not making a lot of money, playing every day, the failure that goes along with it, that takes its toll on you physically, emotionally, and mentally. And if you don't have a place to sleep at night, if you don't have enough food to eat,
Right.
how can you be expected to come to the ballpark and perform? I mean, I just think it's been a situation that's long overdue to get rectified.
Right. So especially if you have a family. Some of you guys have, small children, not a lot of them, but enough of them. And that's really a tough time. But like you said, it's long overdue. And, here in Bradenton, you got Pirate City. They have the facility here that houses the players during spring training, and during this instructional league, they have several players there. But it's a beautiful place.
Yes, it is.
Here. And they should have. You think they could probably have it those places all over the league?
Well, you would think. It's like the Braves own all their own teams, with the exception of the ones that they have in Augusta. So it's really easy for them to make arrangements through their front office in the city or town that they're in, with apartment complexes or hotels, and you do a trade for advertising, or you put it in your budget. And you build a relationship. And so the players know when they go to Pearl, Mississippi, and they're playing for the Mississippi Braves, you don't have to worry about, because Ross, when you get there, those first 3 days as a minor league player, one whole day you don't get on the field to practice.
Right.
Give the kids go look for a place where you
find somewhere to live. Yeah.
And now you're not making any money. And I always used to tell the guys in the off season in instruction, like I said, before you come to spring training, get a job this off season, because when you have to report to wherever you're going to start your professional career, and you're going to play for the Rome Braves next year, you're going to have to pay first month's rent, a security deposit, get the electricity turned on, get the cable turned on. It's going to cost you a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And you don't have the money. So it all needs to, people don't realize, the experience that you go through in the minor league before you get to the big league. That's why I tell these guys, when you get to the big leagues, enjoy it, because it's so much different than anything you could ever imagine when you're in the minor league.
And it's over in a hurry too. You don't realize that.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Skip, I've got a couple more things I want to circle back to the World Series, but before I do that, I got a little bit of an offbeat topic. You worked for the Houston Astros as their rebuild was just underway. So I'm going to assume that while you may not be best friends with Jeff Luhnow, I'm going to assume you know him fairly well. And I watched the New York Mets, who seem obsessed with trying to get Billy Beane, Theo Epstein, everybody, and then they became obsessed with getting the 34-year-olds. Should Jeff Luhnow be sort of blackballed now for what he was part of, or what he says he wasn't really part of it, for the Houston stain there when they won the World Series? Why wouldn't the Mets automatically jump on a guy like Jeff Luhnow as their director of baseball ops?
Well, I got along with Jeff great. I mean, it was a tough go there. We lost 100 games, 3 years in a row there. I was there 2 out of the 3. And, you look back at the Astros now, they got 3 players that are on that team when Bo and I were there. Altuve, Jason Castro's a backup catcher, is now on the COVID list. And Marwin Gonzalez, who got released by the Red Sox and was there as our utility guy. Everybody else is new. I mean, we didn't have very good players, but there was some players on that team that we wanted, but Jeff wanted to keep them down so they wouldn't go to arbitration before he could get that 7th year. One of them was Springer, one of them was Correa. We released JD Martinez because the analytic people said JD Martinez would never hit with power. Right. And for 4 or 5 years later, I mean, I fought with Jeff on this. I remember in spring training because I said, I don't have to watch JD Martinez hit. The guys that got power, you look the other way and you just listen. Right. It makes a different sound. And they said, no, he's not going to hit. So they ended up putting him on waivers. And Dave Clark, the year before, our third base coach, ended up going to Detroit. And it came across the waiver wire. And that day, Detroit got him. Well, for 4 years in a row, I think 5 years in a row, JD hit 35 or more home runs, 100 RBIs.
Amazing pickup.
Yeah. So, and Keuchel, Keuchel was really good. And we couldn't get McCullers. He wanted to stay down. But it was a definite strip it down, rebuild it. And it was a tough go. But David Stearns was the assistant GM there too at the time, who's now at Milwaukee. But to answer your question, I think, Cora, AJ Hinch, the players that are there now, and Jeff, they're going to have to live with what happened for the rest of their career. And I think
it seems like Lou now may pay the biggest, stiffest penalty because he may be into that mode of being semi-blackballed,
I think he has, whether right or wrong, and I'm not privy to whether it's the inside, but I think he has been labeled as the guy that was responsible for it. He knew it was going on and he didn't do anything about it. And I really think in a major market like New York, it would be really, really hard. You look what happened with Carlos Beltran. They found out about Carlos Beltran, and he didn't even make it to spring training. For my money, I would wonder why, if you wanted a great baseball guy, I wonder why you wouldn't go out to San Francisco and talk to Brian Saby and get him out of retirement. Right. This is a guy who's developed championship teams and been in a major market and understands about scouting and player development and bringing up guys and developing players.
They probably feel they've got their Brian Sabian in Sandy Alderson, and they want to find a young guy to learn.
I would think. Yeah. Well, that's the direction that the game is going. It's going to younger and younger in the dugout, the coaches, the front office. It's a new breed. But there's still some.
David, that brings. I want to ask a question.
More horses out there.
Right. I want to ask this question. You brought this up earlier. In the Appalachian League, you got a lot of ex-veteran coaches, baseball people that are teaching fundamentals, how to play the game to college freshmen and sophomores. Correct. You got a lot of guys that have been in with professional organizations that coach for a long time, yourself included. Now you take the Orioles, they get rid of baseball people. They just got Gary Kendall, 26 years, Alan Mills, along the hitting guy. And all along, since the new regime took over, they have eliminated a lot of baseball people in that organization. Now, saying that, you're bringing in people who Joe Blow from the high school, and then you bring some guy from another facility to teach your guys. And I ask, why does that happen? Well, they pay them less money. I go, you're going to pay less money to a coach who has little or no professional experience to teach your number one draft picks, who you've got over the last 3 years, number one picks. It seems like you guys are teaching them how to play the game right. They get to the professional level for a few years. Now you got people that number one sometimes don't even say a word to the players.
Well, they're told not to say a word.
You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this, right?
A lot of them. I think they've lost credibility with players. I think you can't fool the players. The players are laughing. How can you have somebody that has no framework of reference? I had Kenny Steenstra. He pitched for me in 1994. with the Orlando Cubs. Tremendous guy. Been with the Orioles for a long time. Tremendous pitching coach. Great teacher. Very organized. Very gone. Donnie Long, the hitting guy. A great teacher. Great experience. Players. Gary Kendall, who called me the day he got fired. A lot of organizations say, you know, we're going in another direction. I think they want people that agree with them,
Right.
that are going to basically have the same philosophy. You look at what happened with the Cardinals, Mike Schlup. They won 17, 18 in a row. He disagreed with them. The words, you know, they're going to heavy into analytics. You know, they're basically going to go the old way. The Cardinal way is out. It is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
The people that have something to give to the game and to help the players and expect nothing. It's not about money. It's not about ego. It's about love of the game. I think a big part of people that are running the game now, they feel as if talent will develop on its own. Just let the guys play and they'll get better. And once they get to the big leagues, you know, they'll get better. I think you have to teach them. I think you have to guide them. I think you
watch
have to
the games. Just watch the games, you know.
We've got to wrap up, Dave. We got 2 games to go. The Astros are behind 3 games to 2. It looks like we're going to have a little bit more of normalcy with starting pitching matchups. It looks like Garcia is going to go against Max Fried, and then Ian Anderson will probably face off against Greinke in Game 7. Who do you like at this point? Not who are you rooting for? Who do you think will win at this point?
I like the Braves pitching. Fried is Cole Hamels. Fried had more quality starts this year than anybody in baseball. If you don't get him early, you're not going to get him. And the back end of the Braves bullpen has been lights out.
Fantastic. Yep.
Ian Anderson has developed a changeup. He will throw it back to back. He will mesmerize left-handed hitters with his changeup. And if he gets his breaking ball over, look out. I just think the Braves have better pitching and they have better defense. The Astros are tough at home, but if you stop Bregman and Correa, you'll beat them.
All right. Dave Trembley, we really appreciate the time. Some really interesting issues we dealt with tonight. Really appreciate it. All right, Skip.
I always love talking baseball with you. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks, Dave. Love it, buddy.
Thank you, man.
All right, there's Dave Trembley, former Orioles skipper from mid 2007 till mid 2010, and now a manager with the Bristol. What's the name of that team? The Bristol State. The Bristol State Liners was their name.
Liners, yes.
Ross, next week we've got Mike Bordick on.
Yes, sir. That should be great.
I was talking to Mr. Boog Powell today. We might grab him the following week. All right.
Good.
And then probably take we'll probably take the week of Thanksgiving off and that kind of thing. All right.
Perfect. All right, buddy.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Say hi to Bird.
I will.
For Dave Trembley, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Press Box, and we appreciate your tuning in. Don't forget Glenn Clark Radio every weekday, 10 to 12 at PressBoxOnline.com. Talk to you soon, Ross. Bye.